Hello. Today I wanted to talk about a little bit more in detail about preparing for my first meeting with my surgeon for breast cancer, and in particular something that I went into that appointment with a very clear determination, and that was to keep my HRT. And I think there's a big misconception out there, and I will stress that this is my opinion. I am not a medical expert, but I am an expert on me. And I had been on HRT from the May prior, so May 2021. And my perimenopausal symptoms, I think I've said in previous episodes, were pretty grim. And HRT, along with my mindset on TMS, which is also in previous videos, brought me back to life. And so immediately, I knew this well enough with breast cancer because there'd been a family friend a long time previous who'd had breast cancer, and I knew that she was on or had been on tamoxifen. So immediately, even before I knew what type of breast cancer I had, I knew that the NHS, the medical profession, would try and remove my HRT. So I was already prepared. Now, of course, yes, I went into panic mode. But rather than what I would have done sort of pre-TMS and panicked and got all bent out of shape, I thought, okay, I need to do everything I can to help myself. And for me, that was education. So I researched, I listened to, I Googled as much as I could. I wasn't using artificial intelligence then. I Googled as much as I could, and I researched as much as I could, and read and listened to podcasts so that I could have the facts for me, sorry. And a big part of that is NICE guidelines, which is, I don't know when these came in, and I'm not sure everybody knows about this, about the NICE guidelines. So that's about shared decision making. So one doesn't have to be told what to do and basically just nod and follow along. One has a right to make one's own decisions. So it's about the medical profession give you the facts, they outline the details, the risks, the benefits of, and you get to have a say in what happens to you, because this is my body, our body, and the NICE guidelines are we get to have a say in what happens to it. And that was hugely important for me. Now, I don't know where I came across this information. It was definitely on a podcast. I cannot remember whose it was. It might have been the menopause doctor, but I wouldn't want to say that if I'm incorrect. Well, I have just said it, but you know what I mean. But this shared decision making, so I knew that I had that right, and this was a big part of me taking my power back. You see, I don't believe that estrogen in of itself causes cancer. I believe that estrogen, well, it's in every single cell of my body. I know that, that's science. But it's the body can't survive without it, in my opinion. It's supportive of brain health, heart health, bones, so helping to prevent osteoporosis, which I believe the stats are 1 in 2 women will get. It helps with brain health, so helping to prevent, along with other things like a good balanced diet and exercise, but dementia, helping to keep your heart safe. It helps with how the body regulates temperature, which is why in the menopause and perimenopause women suffer from night sweats and hot flashes, etc., because the brain is struggling to regulate body temperature. In my opinion, estrogen is protective. So it didn't make any sense to me. Why would I want to stop taking that? Now, my cancer, well, sorry, I don't hate saying my cancer. That was a Marissa Peer-ism that I picked up. Don't say my cancer. The cancer that was in my breast, as it transpired from the results, was estrogen receptor positive. So when I went into that meeting, my surgeon immediately, I asked, after I'd had my results, I asked, what about my HRT? And her words were, well, surely you've stopped taking that. And I said, no, and I'm not going to. she bristled. I have to say, she's an amazing surgeon, and I was in the best of hands for surgery, but she did not like that comment. And I said, because I was prepared, these are all the things that my HRT helped with. This is where I was in May 2021. I need to keep taking it. And she said, I'll write this on your notes that you can keep taking it for now. So in my head, the defiant part of me was like, no, not for now. I'm keeping this. So what I did do was I also researched if for some reason they being the NHS, refused to give this to me, because I thought, well, if the NHS refused to give it to me, private clinic's going to be the same. What other options do I have? And my husband was helping me as well, and so I did start researching. I think it's called bioidentical, and this is where it's tailor-made for you. And there is a clinic in London. Is it the Natural Doctor? It might be. I didn't go much further because fortunately for me, or I didn't go much further with that research because fortunately for me, I got to keep my HRT, and here I am 2 clean mammograms later, still thriving. And I still have my HRT, and I have my patch on my leg, and I have my transdermal patch, and I have my body identical progesterone, which I take at night because it helps my sleep. But I went into that meeting armed with the facts of these are my symptoms, and these are all the things that my HRT helps with: night sweats, brain fog, dry eyes, dry skin, vaginal dryness, libido, dizziness, anxiety, joint aches first thing in the morning, just feelings of just balanced joy, happiness, just feeling like myself. And that was just off the top of my head. There's a lot more things like brittle nails, brittle hair, have all gone. My eyebrows are growing back, but I think that's also because I use this, which is my own mix of frankincense and castor oil. Castor oil's amazing. I'll do another video on that. And you should check out Ginger Kate on My Mate Ginger Kate on Instagram. She wrote a book about the miracle that is castor oil. So that was one thing I went into about keeping my HRT. Now, it wasn't easy. I had to work hard, and they did say at that point, my surgeon did say, you've clearly researched your facts, you clearly are informed. And much later, when I met my oncologist before I started radiotherapy, he was lovely, one of the nicest men in medicine. He said, you are clearly very well informed, very educated on the subject. And my GP, who's also lovely, I realise how lucky I am to have such a supportive and forward-thinking GP. But she also said the same. You clearly know your own mind. You've clearly researched, and the NICE guidelines support this sort of shared decision making. So that's something not a lot of people, I think, know. Like I tell my parents about it, and they're like, well, no, the doctor says. And like, no, you do get a say. You do. It's your body. And then the other thing that was important to me as well for that meeting was I'd also heard on a podcast, and again, I can't remember who was being interviewed, but this was about radiotherapy and a practice which is not widely used in the UK, but is in other countries. And I think it's called intraoperative radiotherapy. And this is where, when you're having the tumour removed, you have I hate saying this word, but one blast of radiation in theatre. And I think this is used in Germany and France. Oh, at the time I heard the podcast, at the time of me preparing, or just before this appointment with the surgeon, so what are we talking here, March 2023, this was the position. I don't know what it is now, I haven't researched. And it was used at that time in, I think, 6 places in the UK. And it was used during lockdown to help with people who couldn't get to hospitals for whatever reason. So I asked about this because I thought, well, that's amazing. I won't have to have like 15 fractions or whatever it would be that would be for me. And again, my surgeon bristled because I said, well, I hear they do this in Swindon. And she bristled and said, it doesn't work, but I'll transfer you if you want me to. I don't know what it is with some surgeons. What is it with medical people that you ask questions or you I wasn't challenging her authority. I wasn't saying you are wrong, this is right. I was exploring other options so that I could understand. Maybe it's time pressure, maybe they're not used to that, but this is all right. I didn't want to be transferred because I'd also done my research on my surgeon, and I just knew how good she was, and I knew what safe hands, and I am incredibly and always will be thankful for being in her hands. So I didn't explore that. But again, that is something which is used in other countries but not widely used in the UK. Not quite sure why. So that was what happened in that appointment. That was my experience. I came out of that appointment with my, I think I said this in my last video, this is, you have estrogen receptor positive breast cancer. It's small, it's stage 1, grade 1, wide excision, lumpectomy. I scheduled my surgery for the 28th of April. I could have had the Friday before that, but it was my husband's birthday, and I wanted to have a nice weekend before I was preparing for surgery. And we talked a lot more about what surgery would look like and then what would come after. And I left that room feeling not great, obviously, but a lot more in control. And I thought, this is all part of me. This was the beginnings of me finding my voice and the beginnings of me taking my power back. And it's not like I'm taking it from anyone else. When I say that, I mean getting confident in speaking up for myself, owning my body, being confident. And that was sort of the first step in. I know instinctively, I just knew instinctively deep inside that cutting off my estrogen was not for me. It just went against everything I believe in and know for myself. And I hadn't crossed that bridge of how I would deal with the hormone therapy that they use, endocrine therapy. I'd already made my mind up that I wasn't going to take it, but I thought I'll incremental challenges with NHS, I'll cross that bridge when I get to it. And but I got to keep my HRT, and I thought, now I need to tell the private clinic where I'd originally gone to get my HRT. I need to talk to my GP, and my next challenge was sort of, I need to get ready for surgery. So yeah, that's all for today.